Thin blue lie audits. So I get asked, how did this all start? How did this monster get created? The thin blue lie. Well, I actually have done a lot of work with a local organization called Brevard News. That's kind of where I got my start after I did a couple podcasts. And so this week I collaborated on an issue that they've been having. Probably I would say the second most corrupt police department, not just for one, let's say country. Titusville Police Department, right here in Brevard County. Chief Lau, I think he's been there 32 plus years, created a police culture of hatred towards the citizens, mistrust. And you know, as a retired deputy chief, my goal is to call out failed leadership and failed accountability. Before I get started, let me first thank my members. Today I did my first members only video. I did it on Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey. And I talk about perp walks and the unconstitutionality of them when you stage them just to humiliate people after they commit crimes or alleged crimes. Because it's our justice system that's supposed to determine guilt or innocence, not the cameras. So in appreciation for helping me support this channel, that's part of my members only content. If you're interested in that, just hit that join button. Help me out. Public records requests, equipment, time, energy, to support this channel.
The bad cop does not survive. And if someone thinks there is one, that's when you call us and we will look into it.
So, listen, it's 12:30 at night. I normally don't work this late. You know that, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I know it's been on social media, so I'm telling you right now, there's a 30-minute window to have it all taken down.
The bad cop does not survive.
Listen, I'm telling you, 30 minutes to have everything taken down that's been put on social media. I know exactly what's on social media.
If someone thinks there is one, that's when you call us and we will look into it.
So I know, James, you posted a news clip of something in Cocoa. Okay, cool. But it's also all part of, look, what Quasia's doing, what Lonnie's doing, what Hermon's doing. We all know about it all. So we got 25 minutes now, okay? I'm gonna call them. I don't work this late, and I'm out. So we got 20 minutes now.
The bad cop does not survive. And if someone thinks there is one, that's when you call us.
The hornet's nest has been woken up. I promise you that right now.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna try
not to mention you guys, but I know it's all related.
I'm finna call who I can call now. I ain't got nothing to do it. Yeah, because right now I'm feeling threatened.
Major Tyler Wright from the Titusville Police Department made a threatening call to private citizens. Why? Because they shared a public news article on social media about an officer's past misconduct in Cocoa. The same officer believed to be involved in the recent Titusville shooting.
That's when you call us and we will look into it.
The case number.
That will come after you get
Can we get time received and a signature instead?
The bad cop does not survive. And if someone thinks there is one, that's when you call us.
He retaliated against protected speech. He tried to silence lawful public discussion. He used his position to threaten citizens under the color of law. He violated both state law and constitution. He broke his oath to serve without bias and to respect individual rights.
The bad cop does not survive. And if someone thinks there is one, that's when you call us and we will look into it.
Add this complaint to the official record.
Call us and we will look into it.
The hornet's nest has been woken up. I promise you that right now.
That's when you call us and we will look into it. That's what the process is in place for.
So what you just heard was a phone call from Commander Wright. I believe he was a major. I don't know if they switched titles or whatever. But he's a top leader in the Titusville Police Department. He calls community leaders and threatens them to take down social media posts. I don't make this up. Social media posts. First Amendment rights. Freedom of speech. Because some people on there had started doxing the police officer, which in the state of Florida, posting addresses, things like that is illegal. But you're going to call up community leaders and threaten them with a countdown. 30. You now have 20. 15. The hornet's nest is woken. But what they don't tell you is later on, they get into a vehicle pursuit. and that gentleman is killed in a crash, all because of the hornet's nest. So this is my collaboration with Brevard News. Check out the comments. I'll put some links in there. A good local organization that's also fighting corruption right here in Brevard County. Do me a favor. Follow them, like them, Facebook, YouTube, both. Give me that solid, and I appreciate it.
So Lance, just summarize, if you would, and give us your expertise on what you see in the report.
So the report is based on a shooting, I think it was February the 7th, and this is a phone call that took place by Commander Wright. And so multiple citizens filed some complaints because they felt that the phone call was threatening. The demeanor, the tone, the counting down, and all that. So what you see is you have the complaints that are filed. You have Stell Bailey, who she's been an outspoken person. She's went to city council, which they talk about. Some of the other ones, you have Stacy Lincoln, Lonnie. I'm not going to even try it. Sorry, Mr. Lonnie, Miss Felix, Mr. Saunders. All file these complaints, and so what you have is the Titusville Police Department's investigation. I'm going to use air quotes. Their investigation. It talks about the background. So it's talking about all kinds of stuff that has nothing to do with the actual phone call itself. Even in here, which is kind of funny, they say that, you know, sometimes they talk to the community leaders and who agree with the police department, but it has nothing to do with the phone call. Mm-hmm. They go through the complete investigation, but they start talking about incidents involved around the shooting, and this complaint isn't about that. This complaint is very specific about a phone call made by Commander Wright to the community leaders. I think it was Lincoln and Saunders. They even talk about a couple meetings that they were at where the community leaders said, "Oh, you guys are doing a great job."
So is this just bloviating?
Oh, 100%, yeah, absolutely. I mean, here it says Lincoln said, "How y'all handled it couldn't have been any better." So here they are patting themselves on the back. But
this is supposed to be an investigation.
But it's an investigation. It has nothing so far, I've not turned anything that has anything to do with the investigation. And then here's probably one of the most intimidating facts is, so now you have 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of Florida state statutes. So now they want you to see the Florida state statutes, all the violations of the law that were violated, right? Again, most of these actually none of these have anything to do with the phone call. They have things to do with some posts they talk about. They even put stalking on here, which I'm not for sure what that has to do with the phone call. They put other things in here. That's all stalking. False reports to the police, law enforcement authorities. Again, nothing to do with the phone call.
So is this intimidation?
100%, because what they're saying is these are charges we could charge people with. So basically, if you file complaints, they want you right off the bat, filing false police reports. It has all kinds of repercussions. And again, it still has nothing to do with the phone call. Then you're going to go through, I think it's 12, 15 pages of social media posts, right? And they're going to talk about, and when we talked about it, they have posted, it appears that they've posted some addresses for officers, which is against the law. So you have just social media posts they go through. That's a majority of it right there. Again, has nothing to do with the phone call. Again, they just put that in there to try to justify Commander Wright's actions again. And then you go into, which I think is probably some of the most damning stuff, is then you start publicizing citizens at the podium doing their First Amendment. Yes.
They put that in there?
They have it at the podium, city council meetings. They got pictures of citizens. So if you file a complaint and you've ever spoken, I was a little surprised I wasn't, because I think I spoke at 1 or 2 of these meetings. And I'm like, man, where's my name? Because they even put the notary's name in here, which I've never seen the notary listed in an internal investigation.
Wow.
Like who signed the report. So it goes into, they got pictures now. And remember, this is all public record, so anybody can get this. So now, right, we don't want you to put our officers' information out there, but if you need pictures of citizens that have spoke at council, if you want to retaliate on them, feel free to do it.
Intimidation?
100%. Wow. It's just crazy but now you have citizens doing their First Amendment rights, so that's in there. Again, so far this has nothing to do with the phone calls. Still, so here we get into the complaints, and even in the complaints, not supported by firsthand evidence, but anonymous people can file complaints against the police department. A lot of people do it that way for these reasons. Duplicate allegations, undermined by our own conduct, amplifying horrific or hostile posts. Again, nothing to do with the complaint is Commander Wright made a phone call threatening community leaders that was not as a law enforcement capacity, right? There was no lawful reason. He's violating constitutional rights. And it just goes.
But does this remind you of something? This is consistent with the video Lau put out about the shooting, right? Again, a narration.
Yeah.
I guess maybe he needs to go work for Disney because he'd be a good narrator where he's narrating, how he wants you to see this.
And remember, I think it was Mr. Lincoln says, "I'm feeling threatened" on the phone call, but Wright says, "I wasn't threatening you." Oh, okay. Well, thank you there. I guess that's.
Do they mention that they say I feel threatened?
Yeah, it's in there. That Mr. Lincoln.
So do they?
Well, it's in Mr. Lincoln's initial, but then they go back and then they interview him and they try to talk him out of it. Did I absolutely know legally what all these terms meant? Absolutely not. So now they're trying to dumb down his intelligence, being like, oh, he didn't even understand these simple words. And then he says the key term is intentional. I'm not saying you intentionally threatened me or not intentionally. I'm just saying how I felt. Well, he felt threatened. That's the complaint. And he even says it in the phone call. But Commander Rice says, well, I wasn't threatening you. He's like, oh.
So they try to talk him out of his complaint.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what they do with every one of them. One, they undermine their credibility, bringing up criminal history that has nothing to do with complaints, because you can't treat people badly just based on their criminal history, right? You treat people on how they're acting that day, at that minute, that second. But that's not what Titusville Police Department. They didn't do it in the shooting investigation. They're certainly not doing it in this investigation. And then you got, I don't even know what this is, from Uptown Nights. They put this out there. I just received a phone call demanding that you guys remove the officers' addresses and personal information. So they put that in there, but it has nothing to do with the phone call. And even this person said, and so your constitutional rights as American citizens, so this person immediately knows you're violating my constitutional rights.
So they show proof. What they just did there is they show proof that the call happened. They scared him into making a post, and he cooperated with them. But then they say that we're working with these community leaders, but in the same breath, in these reports, they say, but they're criminals.
Yeah.
So TPD, do you just always work with criminals and call them community leaders?
It's crazy. Oh
my goodness.
So then I thought it was interesting. They call in, two of their detectives. They painting great resume, DEA, and he's like stating they need to terrorize his ass on God, saying, oh, he believes that that's a threat. So they bring in their own officers to review these statements, and they're like, oh, and I've never been to a class. I'll be honest, I've never had any training and experience, because that's what officers say. My training experience tells me that the odor that I smell was burnt cannabis emitting from the interior of the vehicle, right? I've never been to a class that tells me what phrases are, in my training experience, this phrase tells me that this is a threat. It just doesn't happen. So they bring him in.
But this person wasn't even on the call or had nothing to do with the complaint or nothing.
Oh, so this is concerning that this person has no firsthand experience, but they use that multiple times. Stella Bailey pretends that she has firsthand knowledge, but does not. This guy has no firsthand knowledge, but he's credible. Why? Because he's wearing a badge. Titusville Police Department. They go with
Interesting.
Corporal Baker, same thing. They bring him in, same thing. They swear him in. And he says, yep, he was working. This guy is the one that says I was working in detail. He stated he was working in response to social media posts that were perceived as threatening and potentially violent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Perceived.
Exactly. But here's the thing. It's threatening when the citizens say something, but when Commander Wright says something that the citizens believe is threatening, it's okay. But the citizens can't be perceived as threatening.
Of course not.
And then obviously they interview Officer Baez again, and he talks about how he felt threatened that night. Again, has nothing to do with the phone call. It doesn't matter how I felt that night, Kevin. It doesn't matter how you felt that night. We have nothing to do with the phone call. It doesn't matter how Officer Baez felt that night. The fact of the matter is, the facts of the phone call were you called up two community leaders, you threatened them. They say, "I'm feeling threatened," and then they comply and start reaching out to other people and say, "Oh, please take these votes because I'm being threatened. You guys need to take your post down." Instead of, like we talked about, you're a law enforcement officer, go do your job. Right. If they're violating the law like you believe they are, then go arrest them like you did with Miss Edwards, and then the charges get dropped because your statements aren't as factual as you believe. It's just, even though DEA agent said these are threatening statements.
Yeah, all of these statements that not one single person still was arrested, was charged as a result of that phone call or anything that was put up on the Facebook or social media that night, right?
No. And the thing is if they were really doing this, it's almost like going to a drug dealer and saying, hey, if you return the money, we won't prosecute you. by saying, if you take down the post, we won't prosecute any of you. Since what is that setting? What kind of, I mean, how many people do they give a chance to rescind their law breaking? It's just weird. It's just weird behavior.
And Corporal Williams specifically addressed Cedric Hawkins' statement, terrorize his ass on God, F them all, that's how I feel. It's only beginning. These are clear and direct threats, not vague or open to interpretation. That's what Corporal Williams says. Well, if that's the case, then go make your arrest.
Right.
Moby was arrested on these charges, right?
Was that person arrested on February 14th, or did they find something else to arrest them on later down the road? Still has nothing to do with the call.
Yeah, it's very concerning. And then they go on, they interview Commander Wright at the very end.
So I'm going to ask you one question, Lance, on this. How much of this may have been pertaining to the fact that they knew that something was awry with the shooting itself, and that they're trying to run cover for the entire night?
Well, we've talked about when you're not transparent in the beginning, this is what happens. When you lose the community trust, when you have a chief of police that loses the community's trust, that's what you have. Now you have and then you double down. You have a commander calling up community leaders. Again, losing the trust. You're losing the trust of your community again. And now you're having to triple down because I'm sure Commander Wright never believed that these people, that he believed he intimidated them so much that they would never file a complaint. Next thing you know, they're walking in the door filing a complaint. So now you're tripling down. So that's exactly what's happening. It all starts because you weren't transparent with the shooting. And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I still don't believe all that.
No.
It's
only a smidgen of the videos.
No, they released the heavily narrated, edited.
Yeah.
They put in parts that had nothing to do with that night.
Look here, not here.
Yeah, and then they released a selective. They selected one they wanted to release, but there's a lot more they have not released.
So this is consistent with that narrative, though, right?
Absolutely consistent. And and then at the end they justify it. And if you put all this out there, they can read it. I wasn't threatening them. I mean, that's pretty much. And once again, they start, Miss Bailey provide false information to city council. That's not a crime.
False information.
That's not a crime.
Okay.
Not to city council. It is if you swear yourself into a statement. And assisted Lincoln and Felix in filing a false police report. So if you go back to what I was talking about in the beginning, so they list all these crimes that were violated, and now they're basically telling Lincoln and Felix, you violated a law.
But if all these people were on the same phone call and they worked together on this complaint, they were all on the same phone call. Is there something illegal about that? They signed the complaint.
It's this whole.
It's the same complaint, right? Like they were all on the phone call.
But is it supposed to make sense?
No, it's supposed to be confusing like this, so that way, if they put it out to the general public, what they do is they try to cause so much confusion that the general public doesn't even know what to believe anymore.
Right.
It's a tactic.
You're 100% right, because they talk about, they interview Officer Baez, right, who was involved in the shooting. He gets to talk about how his family feels threatened. He gets threatened. So right there, you're taking anybody that's pro-law enforcement, because there is no middle. If you criticize police, you're anti-police, defund the police, or you're either all in, no matter what they do. They can violate every law and every constitutional right, but you have to be all in because you can't criticize them. So now they're going to use him, and I get it. Very tragic when you have to take somebody's life. But now in this report, he gets to talk about how it affected his family. So you're pulling on the heartstrings now. But then it talks about, here we go again. This is in the findings. So they use this to justify it. But they're saying again, I think it's Williams again. He's like, the threats were very straightforward. No, they weren't. The state attorney's office didn't prosecute them. But that's in the findings. So they used all this stuff for the findings. No actions by Commander Wright demonstrate intentional abuse of power, corruption, or suppression. Maybe Siri phone just dial this call by itself. Maybe he was like, man, I should call Saunders or Lincoln, and the phone just called. None of it was intentional. But it's crazy. No actions by Commander Wright demonstrated intentional abuse of power, coercion, or suppression of transparency. That's absolutely false.
But they never really questioned the whole issue of what he did. So how could you come to that conclusion? How could they reach that conclusion? Because they never really questioned what he did.
Because he said, I didn't mean to.
Oh.
So again, it says,
did they hear the phone call? Yeah. Do you think they have a copy of the phone call?
I don't know if they do or not. I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out if the copy how this compares with the phone call, right? Maybe they don't have it, or maybe they do have it. Maybe this is written because of it. Maybe it was written because they don't know if there is or is not transcripts of the phone call out there. So it'd be interesting. The term terrorized is deliberate and threatening.
Terrorized?
Yeah, well, that's what they're justifying it. They use right, testified it conveyed intent to strike fear, cause harm. It's just...
Is he talking about what Wright said or what somebody else putting this stuff up?
They're basically justifying everything that Rice did. They basically say individuals, including, they name all these people, deliberately engage in threatening online conversations. Again, that has nothing to do with the phone call. Because I've said this before. If you believe all this is factual, just say what Wright did. We believe that these were threats. He did what he did. It was justified. Intentionally, we called them up and we absolutely said, take those down or we're taking you guys to jail. Just justify it. You're beating around the bush.
But
Trying
Lance,
to
you
figure
can only
this out.
say that if breaking of the law actually had teeth. Again, you come back to the fact that not one person was charged with anything.
That's what I'm saying. If you
So
believe that,
all of this was just fabricated.
100%.
This was just fabricated.
This department is notorious for doing this, for arresting people on these high charges and them eventually getting dropped.
I mean, so you're going through this. This sounds like it was written more in Hollywood than with a police department, doesn't it? This seems like some kind of a police script.
I mean, just go to the investigators. If you really want to just skip all this fluff, but it's fun to read. You go right to the summary. I mean, these complaints were nearly identical. Well, that's because facts are facts.
Right.
If 4 people see the same thing,
Right.
90% of what they saw will all be the same. There will be some differences. That's common. That's nature. So yeah, Lincoln himself admitted under oath he did not understand the legal terminology. So now we're going to dumb down somebody's intelligence, right? They say that these things were.
But what did that have to do with
Nothing.
Wright's call?
Nothing.
How do they know Lincoln doesn't have an attorney?
I don't know. It just says he admitted under oath he did not understand the legal terminology. Why would you even ask them that question? Do you understand the legal terminology? I mean, I don't understand.
Because they were working
Absolutely.
harder to discredit the complainants than they were to actually look into the complaint.
Correct. If they had justified this complaint, it'd be 5 pages.
Yep.
Right now, it's not. It's a
packet.
56. But here's the interesting part, because I think Stell brought it up. These allegations were based on personal feelings rather than facts. How many times did you read in here? This officer felt. This
Right.
officer,
pretty consistent.
Even Wright, I didn't mean it to be threatening or whatever he said. But it's okay for the cops. But then the citizens who wrote these complaints were based on.
Wait a
feelings,
minute.
not
So
facts.
in one breath they say the citizens wrote legal, right? That's factual.
No, because he didn't understand the terminology. Sarcasm.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
But how are you going to say that it was all based off feelings when they? Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so
This is so
you're going to give
crazy.
yourself a headache
I
trying to. This is convoluted. Again, it seems like some kind of a movie script. It doesn't even make any sense. It's contradictory. I mean, so on the one hand, the officers can express emotion. On the other hand, no.
100%.
Yeah.
A lot of fluff. Go to the summary. You'll see it's just, it has nothing to do, the majority of this has nothing to do with the phone call itself.
All right, so that's part 1 of our report on TPD, investigating TPD on the call of Tyler Wright on the 14th of February, 2025. We'll have more in future segments. Welcome to Brevard News Investigates. My name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator, and today we're going to talk about TPD. TPD and their investigation of TPD on the Tyler Wright phone call. And joining us to look into this is former Deputy Chief of the Palm Bay Police Department, Lance Fisher, as well as our investigative reporter, Stell Bailey. And so as we look at this, the TPD officer Tyler Wright made a phone call on the night of February 14th following the shooting of Tramaria Charles. His call was to threaten Facebook posts that was put up generally concerning the shooting. One person was arrested that night that was not charged, or the charges that was filed against that individual was dropped, abandoned. And so Wright was investigated over this call by, wait for it, TPD itself. Today on Brevard News Investigates, we'll examine the report on Wright and whether an agency should police itself, as well as look into the possible malignment of residents who filed complaints about that very phone call.
As listen, it's 12:30 at night. I normally don't work this late. You know that, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I know it's been on social media, so I'm telling you right now, there's a 30-minute window to have it all taken down.
I mean, so you've looked at the report that we got through public records from TPD, Lance. Just what jumps out at you?
Well, let me just be straight. The citizens of Titusville, they need to be concerned.
The citizens of Titusville, they need to be concerned.
Because this report literally re-victimizes the very victims that filed the complaints. It's talking about, I've never seen it, and I've been in law enforcement for 25 years. I've never seen an internal investigation done where they literally chastise the complainants. This is almost like blaming the victim. That's what this is. Absolutely. They're bringing up criminal histories. They're bringing up I mean, you got, I don't know, 50 pages here, and maybe 8 of it has anything to do with the complaints.
See, the issue should be whether the facts are true.
Absolutely.
Should they not?
Absolutely.
So when they go into all of this meandering about stuff that doesn't really amount to a hill of beans.
But you know, we saw that in the Charles shooting, right? We saw how they victimized the deceased, you know, the son, by bringing out all his history, his criminal history, and that's what we do in law enforcement, right? We always try to paint those pictures, but we don't paint the pictures of the officers, right? Because we've been talking about one in Palm Bay, but we don't talk about the history of the officers. But that's exactly what they're doing in this IA. You read this thing and you hear, oh, well, he's not credible because they were charged with this. This person's not credible. Stell Bailey's not credible because she talks in city council meetings. She's doing her First Amendment right. And now she's being criticized for that, which is the very complaint that this thing is based around. You violating people's First Amendment rights when they're doing social media posts. You call them up and you say, you got 30 minutes to take it down. That's a violation of your First Amendment rights. And you talked about it. They even charged one person, but the case has already been abandoned and dropped. But it's not in the report.
Right. So they don't even include that this person that was charged that night that had nothing to do with the call still. The charges against that person was dropped.
Yes. Yeah. Jasmine Edwards, it was dropped, abandoned. If you look at the court records, it says on June 2nd, 2025, the prosecutor marked the action as dropped, abandoned. A motion to withdraw was filed on June 5th, 2025. And the fact that they continue to bring up Jasmine Edwards is concerning. There's a February 18th Channel 6 report that was done on this phone call because a multitude of residents reached out to the reporters and they tried to pry a little bit into this phone call. And in that report, the chief of police alleges that a multitude of people threatened an officer and broke the law, but only one person was arrested, which was Jasmine Edwards. And she was not on that call. And you'll notice they do not put in this report that these charges were abandoned.
So let's walk through this. So first of all, it is against the law for someone to publish the phone numbers or the addresses of police officers. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and it should be right. We know that law enforcement is a tough job, and nobody should have their personal information put out like that.
So the people that he called that night, though, according to this report, had nothing to do with that.
Not from what I see in the report, absolutely.
Is that correct, still?
Correct, yes. He even talks about, in the transcript of the call, that he mentions the COCO report, the news media report.
So walk us through what exactly happened that night. So he calls and he's upset because there's someone who has posted information about Baez, who was one of the shooters of Charles, that they had posted his address, correct?
When he initially called them, he didn't really say immediately what it was about. It started off with, I don't normally work this late.
I don't work this late, and I'm out. So we got 20 minutes now.
And you could tell he was very distraught. He was emotional and triggered, basically, and told them, you have 30 minutes to take down all the posts. So it was very generalized. It wasn't very specific or pinpointed or directed. And even if it was about people posting the officer's address or anything illegal, why did he put the burden of that responsibility on one or two people that he initially called.
Say that again?
I said, I know what has been put on social media, and there's 30 minutes to have it taken down. Call Stacy and ask him what I'm talking about.
Stacy?
Yes, call Stacy Lincoln.
Okay, I'll call Stacy and we'll put...
Stand by, Taz, on the phone. Listen, I'm telling you, 30 minutes to have everything taken down that's been put on social media. I know exactly what's on social media. You can call Stacy and...
Just one moment.
So neither one of the people that he called that was on the phone call was involved in this at all.
No, one of them may have shared a post about the Coco article, because this same officer that was involved in the shooting, there's a public media article about him involved in a different shooting in the city of Coco. And so that was getting shared widely because he had shot through his windshield, and it just really resonated with the community because he's already made this mistake before, and they were in disbelief that an officer who had already made such irresponsible mistake is now working for Titusville Police Department. So that was getting shared very widely. Now, I don't know if people were posting the officer's address. It's very possible. When things start going viral, which it was, I mean, of course it shakes you. Wouldn't you, when you see that, go, well, wait a minute, this officer's already been involved in a shooting, and then as we found out through our other investigations, he's been involved in other incidents with his internal affairs reports. So it's possible that people did, but why, again, I go back to, why did they put the responsibility of their job, their duties as officer, on these people that they allege they viewed as community leaders? And who determines that these people are community leaders?
So that's the thing. So in the report, they say this, right? That these were community leaders. And so presumably he's calling these community leaders and he's threatening them to tell their people or some people who, I mean, who, what is this?
Right. He's
what is
threatening,
the point here?
And he names a few of the people, and Lonnie was one of them. Felix is another one, and these are the few people that did file the complaint.
But it's also all part of what Quasia's doing, what Lonnie's doing, what Herman's doing. We all know about it all. So we got 25 minutes now, okay?
Because they mention them very specifically. You need to tell this person and everyone to take down these posts.
So is this what you do? So if you're the police chief, is this what you do, Lance, if you're in a situation where, say, someone has put up the address of an officer involved in some situation? How do you handle that? What's the protocol there?
Well, I'm going to tell you how we did in Palm Bay. You would go find the person that put that post up. Go find if they committed a crime. You have a duty to investigate and go make that arrest. Don't just randomly call somebody up and say, hey, call this person and tell them to take the thing. Go, you call them yourself. Call this.
Do you find it unusual?
Yeah, it's absolutely unusual, and this whole IA is unusual. And you know, and I talk about in one of my recent videos about working cases backwards, and that's what you have here. So you have Commander Wright. He doesn't mention anything about the officer's addresses. That's all comes later when they're trying to justify his actions, because you could have just as easily made this phone call.
So
and
what
said,
do you think precipitated this then? If it wasn't the address. He's angry about what?
About the post, because he's seeing, right, his job, and I've said this before, we in law enforcement, as leaders, including myself, believe that our first responsibility is to protect our officers.
So when he saw the post up that someone put about a news article about Bayaz, and the shooting that he was involved in Coco, you think that was what triggered him?
Absolutely, what triggered him. And because if it had to, if these are community leaders and they put this timeline about how many times they met with them, why wouldn't you just say, hey, Lance Fisher, can you do me a favor? I just saw this article. Here's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned that they're posting the addresses of the officers. That would come up in the initial phone call. And it would be a cordial conversation. You wouldn't have to come out with a demeanor right off the bat threatening, right? Because he goes in there, I wasn't trying to threaten them, and then tries to justify. But he was.
According to what you said, what was the verbiage he used? You've stirred up the hornet's nest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Minutes now.
Yeah, That's on them. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
The hornet's nest has been woken up. I promise you that right now.
That sounds a little bit threatening, right? Then he starts counting it down, doesn't he?
And then he claims in this report that the hornet's nest is actually the community.
That's what I thought
So he
was...
twists and manipulates the meaning behind what he said. But he clearly, like you were saying, he could have came off a lot more professional. He didn't. He was very aggressive. He was emotional. And he uses a lot of subjective phrasing in this internal affairs. He viewed it. He perceived this. He felt this. There's no factual anything. It's all about how he viewed things, how he felt. And it just, the subjective phrasing in it was very concerning.
So
Absolutely.
normally what would happen in a situation like this? If you saw this happen and you're the chief, what would you say to your captain or your commander?
After the fact?
Yes.
I would be like, listen, because our chiefs get up there and they go to all these community meetings, like, if these are truly our community leaders, which I'm assuming they are, we're not going to talk to them like that. We have a relationship. So at the very minimum, right, and this isn't even an investigation, but let's just say it is, you at least should have some kind of courtesy judgment violations at the very minimum. Because if I'm a chief of police and I'm going and I had an officer involved shooting that has just caused so much chaos within our community, I'm not going to allow my command staff member to start talking to the community leaders this way. I'm just not going to do it because
It's like throwing salt into a wound. Isn't
you're
it?
breaking down the very barriers that Chief Lau is allegedly trying to build. It's just, it just is tearing down walls. And now, when you throw it all on a piece of paper and you put it all together like that, and you try to justify, like you said, now you're going to blame the citizens for the hornet's nest, which is clearly not what Commander or Major Wright was saying. We're going to bring up the hornet's nest. They even talk about a special detail, I believe, that was ran that night in conjunction with this. They put extra officers on the officer's house.
So he did the countdown too, right? So
He
he
did.
started saying you have how many?
30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. And he doesn't ever explain what's going to happen in those minutes. He had the community so fearful. And they said that police officers were driving by their houses. They were intimidated. And even on the phone call, he said, somebody says that's on the call, I'm feeling threatened now to him.
Because right now I'm feeling threatened. You get what I'm saying? Because I can prove. Hold on. Wait. For one, listen. Because I'm trying to. Because for one, it's.
Trying to call. Perfect. Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah.
To him.
And so, and the thing that you want to remember here is these are innocent people. They've not broken the law at all. They've done nothing, right? And so he's talking to them in this way. And these people were so threatened and felt so bad about this that they went and filed a complaint.
Yes.
Against Wright.
Yes.
Which now this gets even more comical. Because now you have TPD on the complaint. I mean, does this even happen? Or would you do this in a rape or a murder, right? Where you would have somebody investigating the very people that are being complained against? It's your own.
Have the suspect investigating the victim?
Right.
No, yeah, you absolutely wouldn't do that.
Well, you see this sometimes when suspects represent themselves as an attorney and how awkward it becomes when they're having to cross-examine, families of the victim or whatnot. And this is kind of how this is. This is craziness, is it not?
Yeah, and what was, I remember something about transparency when we were up there the day that the mother was meeting with the family. Talked about transparency. This is not transparent. If you want transparency, you go to an outside source. You go, and it's not going to be the greatest, but you can go to another agency. That happens internal, or the professional standards from other agencies will come in and do the investigation for you. They could have had the sheriff's department. That's not going to be. I think they're the ones that actually handle one of the charges. That's not going to be totally transparent. But literally, when you have the IRS investigating the IRS, there's never any wrongdoing, and that's what you have here.
So walk us through what normally happens under internal affairs. What do they investigate? Because there's an in-house, and then you have FDLE that investigates shooting and the like, right? But what does internal affairs investigate, and when are they not credible to investigate this kind of a situation?
Well, I think what you have here, and this probably and could have went up to FDLE. They could have absolutely handed this off to FDLE because you're talking about allegations of police misconduct at the highest level. This is a commander or a major at the Titusville Police Department who's already been scrutinized by their community for a recent shooting. So when you have supervisors or leaders at the top level, allegations of police misconduct, this is an opportunity for you to go outside and be transparent, right? And FDLE or whoever comes in with their investigation, it's not going to have a lot of this fluff. It's going to have the facts. That's what should have happened here.
Do you see a lot of subjectivity here?
Oh, absolutely. But you have to think about it. You have a commander investigating another commander. It's not going to happen, because I can't investigate you one day, find you at fault, and maybe the next day, and then we're going to be in meetings together for how many years moving forward? Or what if I do something wrong and now you're going to investigate me? Yeah, let's just do it this way. We'll make up this whole packet of nonsense here, and we'll call it a day. Because really, this investigation isn't about Commander Wright. This investigation is about everybody that filed the complaints.
So more information is talked about, not about Wright, but it's about the people who filed the complaint still. I mean, as you read through that, isn't that what jumps out at you? It's almost like they are turning the tables on the people who actually filed the complaints, and they're blaming them.
Yeah, it devotes substantial space to attacking the credibility, backgrounds, and character of the complainants rather than addressing the content of the February 14th phone call itself, which caused fear and intimidation in the community. They don't address that. And there's very important details missing from this report. Now, Jasmine Edwards is one of them, where we talk about what the result was of that arrest, but also they want to go into detail about a very specific city council meeting, how things were escalating, and they try to blame the community for that, when in reality on February 11th, 2025, you guys can go back to the meeting minutes with the city of Titusville. You can go through their transcripts on their YouTube. And at that meeting, it was brought up about how Trimaria's memorial was thrown away by a housing authority government employee.
Now, was that intentional?
We can only guess.
Okay.
And it was recorded by Councilwoman Moscoso. If it wasn't for her stepping in, I think things would have gotten a lot worse. Mm-hmm. And so this incident is what actually escalated tensions in the community, and that is not anywhere in this report. Instead, they tried to blame the community for the rising tensions and use a different excuse. They do not put this, and I think that if you're going to make a whole narrative, which none of this has anything to do with that February 14th call that night and his actions that night. But if you're going to do a narrative, why leave out such an important detail of what truly escalated the community? A lot of people probably don't know that memorial was damaged and thrown away. Probably the worst thing that imagine a loved one's memorial, somebody that may have gotten into a car accident, and you have flowers and balloons and something to just remember them by. It's a normal behavior, and somebody goes and trashes it.
And if it wasn't for Councilwoman Moscoso, that would have escalated out of control.
Absolutely. Yeah. She is the only council member, I think, that the community felt comfortable saying, we need to do something about this, because this is what is escalating. This is what is making the community angry. It was so disrespectful. And she's in the minutes saying we need to replace those items.
And they were replaced, which de-escalated the issue, right?
She did de-escalate the situation by acknowledging, just simply acknowledging that it happened. The other council members wouldn't have acknowledged that. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what transparency does for a community. That's how trust is built with a community. People just want to be heard and acknowledged and know, not gaslit and told that they're crazy or, their character be assassinated like you see in this report.
Is this common, Lance, and from a police department perspective, that you just damn the source? Because the officers and law enforcement rely a lot upon people who don't have good character, right? Because you get a lot of information from sources, informants. They're not necessarily great people, right? But you trust that information, right? But do you pick and choose when you want to use that?
The only time, from my experience, to include myself, disgruntled, all this stuff, is when you can't fight the truth. Then you attack. Then you attack the person speaking the truth. And I think that's what you have here. You're right. We all know we use confidential informants. We get information all the time from non-reliable people. Government officials sometimes aren't reliable, right? But we don't sit there and blast them like this. That's what this whole report is, putting citizens on blast. And I'll tell you, the message that I got, you asked me kind of in the beginning, is if you're filing a police report against the Titusville Police Department, you better be a priest, because they're gonna sit there and do whatever they can.
Pick you apart.
Yeah, because
even if you're not, they're going to still try to find something on you.
Which is crazy, because I've seen a video of Chief Lau saying, if you're a bad cop, you're not going to survive. Well, there's not going to be a bad cops, because there's going to be nobody to complain on them. Because every time somebody comes in to complain, they become the victim.
So how do you counter that? So if you have this, and hopefully we can put these in the comment section so that people can see the report itself. How do you counter that?
As a citizen?
As a citizen.
It's, I think it's sittings like this. It's people like this that come out and put it public, because nobody would ever know, right? Nobody would ever know that these things are happening in their police departments. I talk a lot about my position as a deputy chief. I have a lot of information that people just don't know, and we've talked about on this segment how hard it is for me to get somebody to listen to it. As a deputy chief, as a retired deputy chief of the Palm Beach Police Department, I couldn't get anywhere. So I can only imagine what citizens are trying to file complaints. Now I know what they're going through. I spoke about this to a person today. I didn't realize how hard it was for a citizen's voice to be heard. The whole time I was in law enforcement, 25 years, a majority of that was at top leadership. I never realized how hard it was for a citizen to get any kind of justice.
So you think the system still is really pushing back and trying to protect its own structure?
Absolutely, and I think this was done to discourage and intimidate community members from filing complaints, and I want to encourage you to do the exact opposite from that. Do not be afraid of the character assassination. The whole point of these complaints, it's forcing them to put this in writing. So now they're forced to lie, manipulate in writing.
Which you can clearly see. I mean, it's really interesting, some of the things. As you read this report, you ask yourself, who wrote this? I mean, it sounds like somebody who is a friend of someone who wrote some kind of report, and they just made them look in the best light. And the damn the source is the thing that jumps out at you, which is a logical fallacy. That's the first thing you do, right? You damn the source, and you try to make the source look bad in order to avoid the truth.
That's the only reason, because you can't explain this away. Like I said, it was worked backwards. He made the call out of anger, frustration, ego, whatever it was. Then they turn around and try to justify it. Because like we said, I'm assuming this came out October 30th based on the date. The charges were dropped on Miss Edwards in June. So you had 6 months to add that to this report, and you never mentioned it. You mentioned the arrest, but you don't mention the end game, that even the state attorney's office didn't think that this was an actual threat.
So what could have happened to Wright had they actually did an investigation and they actually looked at this thoroughly? What are the possibilities of what could have happened to him, or what should have happened to him?
So they have guidelines. I'm not familiar with their contract, but like the Palm Beach Police Department, we have a contract that says this violation falls into this category. So this one, but you're talking about police misconduct at the highest level. So even if you have courtesy and professional violations, you're at least looking at a letter of, some kind of a letter of reprimand, something of that nature.
So this would affect his promotions, maybe?
It should affect his promotions. I would, and quite honestly, it should affect his status within the police department. This is a top leader. If he's making these kind of phone calls, and it talks a couple times about him and a corporal were going to these meetings, so you're leading. So other officers now, his behavior, because it's been completely justified, every officer now can do exactly what Commander Wright did. They can make these exact phone calls to whoever they want, and there's nothing that can happen to them because you've already exonerated Commander Wright. So these officers now they're going to say, "Wait a minute, you didn't punish him, but how are you going to discipline me? You just can't do it."
This gets back to the culture that you always talk about.
Well, I talk about police culture. When you have leaders like Chief Lau, Chief Joe, that have been in these systems for 30 plus years, and Chief Lau probably near 25 to 30 years for Chief Agello, and they show this kind of conduct over and over. They start getting mimicked by their leaders and then the officers. This will trickle all the way down to the road officer, which we've seen in the Gerard Brothers thing, where he's causing peaches and just craziness.
Well, see, they just blow that off like it's no big deal. I
Yeah.
mean, and this is right here on tape for everybody to see still.
Yeah, they said that in that case, oh, by the way, that's a good point. His case was done within a month. This was filed in June, and they didn't finalize it till October 30th. And one of the complainants got arrested in August after they filed the complaint. And then another complainant's background from 20 years ago got released all over the internet. So these are just more tactics.
This is just an accident, right, Lance?
Absolutely an accident. Absolutely.
You can't make this up.
No, you really
can't make
can't.
this up. This is like, again, the Dukes of Hazzard. We have Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane. I mean, this is craziness. I'll give you the last word on this, Dale. Tell me what's going on here, and what would be your message to the people about filing complaints?
My message to the people is to not be deterred. I want you to continue filing complaints. I have always encouraged you to file complaints. I know that this can be worrisome, it can be intimidating, but do not back down. You are forcing the Titusville Police Department and your government to answer to you. And if they are going to lie, make them do it in writing, because eventually the truth will come out.
Not only will the truth come out, but some of it can be just downright comical, and I think when you read this report, you'll get a great laugh at that. This is our investigation on Brevard News Investigate of TPD investigating TPD on the Tyler Wright phone call. That's it for this segment. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
So that's it. That's how this monster was created. A couple podcasts, and then I started collaborating with local Brevard News. Their continued fight to expose corruption within local governments. So you see, Titusville Police Department, the bad cop will not survive. They won't even entertain the complaints from the citizens. Why? Because he's a commander. Another FBI National Academy graduate. Remember, I too am an FBI National Academy graduate. Session 279. So your top leaders, right? Your best of the best. Calling up community leaders and threatening them. 30, 25. Do me a favor, follow, like, share, comment. Check out Brevard News. They do a tremendous job at exposing local corruption. And as always, send some love my way. Hit that subscribe button. 3,500 plus subscribers in just under a month, and we're growing. Can't be stopped. If you so choose, please hit that join button. Please help me continue this fight. Let's hold the top leaders in law enforcement accountable. Failed leadership, failed accountability. That's what the TBL community is out to expose. Thank you.